If you've ever had someone disrespect something as simple as your own name, something that costs nothing to get right, you know how deep that kind of quiet disrespect can cut. This is a story about 11 years of being erased, one syllable at a time, and the slow, sweet, completely accidental on purpose revenge that finally set the score straight. Stick around, because the ending is going to feel so good. If you love a good petty payback story, hit that like button and subscribe. You're going to want to see how this one ends. Names carry weight. They're the first gift most of us are ever given. And when someone refuses to use the one you've chosen for yourself, it doesn't feel small. It feels like being told your own preferences don't matter enough to remember. That was the reality for a woman we'll call Elle, not her real name, but close enough in spirit, since, like our protagonist, she also goes by a shortened version of a longer, more formal name. Elle had never loved the traditional, old-fashioned version of her name. It felt heavy on her tongue, like a coat to sizes too big. So somewhere back in childhood, she'd shortened it, softened it, made it hers. Everyone who mattered to her, her parents, her college roommates, her closest friends called her by that name without a second thought. It wasn't a big ask. It wasn't complicated. It was simply her name. Then she met the man who would become her husband, and with him came his mother. The first meeting was warm, on the surface. Elle remembers sitting at the kitchen table, coffee cooling in front of her, doing what she always did when meeting someone new. She introduced herself the way she wanted to be known. "You can call me Elle," she said, smiling. "All my friends and family do." The mother-in-law's face shifted, just slightly. Not anger, not confusion. Something more like quiet, private amusement. The kind that makes the back of your neck prickle before you can even explain why. "Oh," the woman said, setting down her own mug with a little too much precision. "Interesting. Did you know that name means something not very nice in another language?" Elle blinked. She did know, actually. It was a small linguistic coincidence. The kind of thing that comes up maybe once a decade, when someone who happens to speak that particular language overhears her name in passing. It wasn't offensive. It wasn't shocking. It was trivia at best, the kind of fact you mention once and then let go. "I'm aware," Elle said, laughing it off. "It's totally fine. Nobody's ever thought twice about it." She thought that would be the end of it. A funny little icebreaker, filed away and forgotten. It wasn't the end of it. It was the opening move for the next 11 years through holidays, hospital visits, birthdays, a wedding, and eventually a pregnancy. Elle's mother-in-law never once called her by the name she'd asked for. Not once. Every single time, she used Elle's full, formal name, enunciated with a strange, deliberate crispness, as if she were correcting a child who hadn't yet learned to speak properly. At first, Elle let it slide. People forget. People have habits. Surely it would fade. It didn't fade. It calcified. Elle's husband corrected his mother. Directly, kindly, more than once. "Mom," she goes by Elle. Silence, or a vague nod. And then right back to the full name in the very next sentence. As if the correction had evaporated the second it left his mouth, Elle corrected her too, gently at first, then less gently. "I actually prefer Elle, every time." The same faint, knowing, almost smile. The kind of smile that says, "I heard you, and I simply don't care enough to change." What made it sting wasn't confusion. It was proof, sitting right there in plain sight, that this wasn't forgetfulness at all. 5 years into the marriage, Elle's brother-in-law entered the picture, and he too went by a shortened version of his given name. And here's the thing that turned a quiet irritation into something sharper, something that sat in Elle's chest like a stone. Her mother-in-law used his preferred name flawlessly, every single time. No hesitation, no slip-ups, no interesting fact about what it might mean somewhere else in the world. It wasn't that she couldn't remember a nickname. It was that she'd decided, somewhere back at that very first kitchen table conversation, that Elle's name simply wasn't worth respecting. Elle started noticing the pattern everywhere. At the pharmacy, when insurance forms needed her married name. At family dinners, when her mother-in-law would call across the table using the full, stiff version like a title rather than a name. Each time, something small tightened behind Elle's ribs. It wasn't rage, not exactly. It was the low, grinding frustration of being told, over and over, without ever being told outright, "You don't get to decide who you are in this family." "I do." Then came 2024, and with it, a pregnancy. There's a strange tradition that seems to have taken over in recent years, expectant. Parents pulling grandparents to be on what they'd like to be called Grandma, Nana, Gigi, something personal, something chosen, Elle and her husband asked. It seemed only fair, especially given how fiercely her mother-in-law had defended her own son's chosen nickname for years. The response came back fast, almost gleeful in its certainty. Anything, her mother-in-law said, waving a hand like she was swatting away a fly. Anything but Meemaw. Yuck. And there it was. Elle sat with that word for a long moment. After the conversation ended, yuck, the same dismissive, little flick of distaste that had lived behind her mother-in-law's eyes for 11 straight years. Every time Elle's actual name came out of her mouth, something in Elle settled into place, calm and clear, and absolutely certain. If a name could be chosen, it could also be assigned. Elle didn't yell. She didn't send an angry text. She didn't even bring it up again. She simply started calling her mother-in-law Meemaw, constantly, cheerfully, relentlessly. Every visit became an opportunity. Want to hold the baby? Go see Meemaw. Look who's here, everybody. It's Meemaw. Say hi to Meemaw. Each time, Elle watched her mother-in-law's jaw tighten just a fraction, watched the practiced smile stretch a little too wide to be comfortable. There were no protests, not out loud anyway, because protesting would mean admitting how much it bothered her. And admitting that would mean acknowledging exactly what she'd spent over a decade refusing to acknowledge, that names matter, that preferences deserve respect, that yuck is not a neutral thing to say about what someone wants to be called. Elle never raised her voice. She never even brought up the obvious parallel out loud. She didn't need to. She simply repeated the word Meemaw with the same bright, unbothered persistence her mother-in-law had used on her own name for 11 straight years. Sweet on the surface, immovable underneath. 19 months in, the plan graduated to its final phase, a toddler with a sponge for a brain and a growing vocabulary. At first, the word came out garbled, something between me-noi and a happy shriek. But toddlers learn fast, and words repeated with enough love and enough frequency eventually stick. Elle practiced gently, playfully, the way any parent teaches a child to name the people in her life. Can you say Meemaw? Say hi to Meemaw. And a family vacation was coming up. Days of togetherness, days of practice, days for a toddler to lock a word into permanent memory. By the time the trip arrived, Meemaw wasn't a stumble anymore. It was clear. It was confident. It was said with a delighted little pointed finger every single time the woman walked into a room. Meemaw. Picture the scene, a family dinner table on vacation, everyone gathered, the toddler perched in a high chair, chubby hand raised and pointing directly across the table. The word rings out clear as a bell, and for one unguarded second, the mask slips. A flicker of genuine irritation crosses that carefully composed face. The same flicker, the mirror image, of every eye roll and every deliberately mispronounced syllable Elle had swallowed for 11 years. There was no yelling back. No argument to be had. What exactly was she going to say? Please don't let my own grandchild call me the name I decided I wasn't willing to call her. Mother? The word had already landed. It wasn't going anywhere. Toddlers don't forget the names of the people they love. And there is no correcting a 19-month-old without looking to everyone else at that table. Exactly as unreasonable and petty as the years of quiet disrespect had actually been, for Elle, the release wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was a private, satisfying exhale. The feeling of 11 years of being unheard finally landing somewhere it couldn't be brushed off. Every Meemaw from that small, delighted voice was proof that some things, once set in motion with enough patience, simply can't be undone. There's a particular kind of justice in letting someone's own behavior become the blueprint for their comeuppance. Elle never lied. She never manipulated anyone into anything they didn't already choose for themselves. She simply held up a mirror, one sweetly spoken word at a time, until her mother-in-law was forced to sit inside the exact discomfort she'd handed out for over a decade. Respect, it turns out, is rarely about grand gestures. Sometimes it's as small as a name, and refusing to give someone that small, easy courtesy can come back around